The Seismic 7, Chapter 21, Part 1. Okay, take as much equipment away from here as possible, Dr. Rare turned to the men around us. Only keep what is absolutely necessary for this project. What about the kids? One of the men asks. We can't kill them until Wyatt's job is done, Greer says. Load them up too. No, we have to stay. I look around desperately. Our entire plan rests on us staying here and somehow winning back control from Greer and McNamara as we wait for help to arrive. Several men move in to grab us. This is it. Oh goodness, this might be our only chance. I look to Kinsey. She's our time bomb. She could go off and do something that stops all of this, but she's staring upward. So is Nolan. Kinsey says, pointing. Overhead, two small military jets are dropping out of the sky. Like, actually dropping. They're going to crash. What are those doing here? McNamara demands. I have no idea. I've never seen jets like that so close, and I've certainly never seen any crash before. Idiots, Greer says, flying into a volcanic cloud. That ash is getting turned to ceramic in their engines. I can't look away. I want to, but I can't. The planes continue to plummet. Then, each pops out an ejected seat. Parachutes deploy, carrying the pilots safely to the ground as their jets continue to fall. The planes crash, exploding in the distance. Their flames just add to the smoke and fire that already engulfs most of the visible park. I exhale, then start to cough. We have to move, Greer says, looking west. I follow her line of sight and gape at the flaming forest less than a football field's length away. I hadn't realized the fires had gotten so close. One of the men grabs me by my shoulders, yanking me toward a truck. Instinctively, I struggle back. Do you want to be here when the next eruption happens? Greer asks me. Let me go, I shout, ignoring her. This is our only chance, and I'm not going to miss it. Clearly, neither is anyone else. Independently, Raquel, Kinsey, Nolan, and I all begin wailing on our would-be captors. I stomp on a foot, kick a shin, wince as my back gets punched, and scream as I twist to headbutt the man pushing me. It's no use. The men aren't underestimating us anymore, and we're all quickly wrestled under control. But then another quake hits. The ground starts to shake. Wyatt! I yell, spinning toward the cabin where Wyatt's long since disappeared. You don't think... No, he wouldn't have hit it yet, McNamara says. Greer shakes her head and the ground stops moving. No, we're safe. What about Wyatt? Kinsey demands. He might not be. Wyatt, status, McNamara asks into a radio. There's a long pause as we all hold our breaths. I'm fine, Wyatt reports after a static pop. Keep moving, Greer orders the man, who grabs us more tightly and continue to shove us toward the trucks. They're too much trouble, McNamara says. We should just tie them up here and leave them for the lava. Once Wyatt does his thing, they'll blow up with him. Oh, thanks, Kinsey says, her voice dripping sarcasm. Leave them for the lava. I've never met two people as heroic as you guys. You're a true inspiration. I'm not leaving Nolan, Greer says. He's made his choice, Samantha, McNamara replies. I just don't get it. You're willing to kill the rest of your family? Why not him? He's useful. Bree would be useful too, she says, not meeting McNamara's eyes. For when we rebuild. She's smart. Listen to yourself, McNamara grabs Greer by her shoulders. Sam, you aren't being logical. They aren't who you want them to be. They won't help us, ever. They're obstacles, that's all. That triggers something in her. Greer's tall frame straightens, and the tiniest bit of hope I was feeling for her to redeem herself disappears. I'm sorry, she says. You're right. I've taken my eyes off the bigger goal. There's the Sam I know. McNamara lets out a relieved breath. Now, come on. She steers her toward the trucks. Aunt Sam! Nolan cries out, reaching for her. But then we're dragged to a tree, and men tie the four of us up around it. Raquel to the left of me, Kinsey to the right, and Nolan on the opposite side. The rope is so tight I can feel it bruising my arms. McNamara returns to check on us a couple of minutes later. Once Greer is out of earshot, I hate wasted effort, she sneers. In the distance, I can hear the crackling of a new set of trees going up in flames. If only you four had. But then her phone rings. She answers it, turning from us. Yes? What? Bulldozers? I look up, and so does Raquel. Well, tell them to turn around and go home, McNamara goes on to say. We're under mandatory evacuation. It's for their own safety. All of us are listening to the phone conversation now with rapt attention. Please, please, be what we hope this is. Fire trucks, too? What do you mean they're not listening to you? She spins, glaring at the four of us on the ground around the tree. Okay, I understand. Do what you can to stop them. What's going on? Greer asked, jogging over from the trucks. Rangers are trying to turn people around at the park entrances. Seems like the kids weren't lying about calling for help. If I wasn't tied up, I'd be leaping for joy. The video must have uploaded. Oh my goodness, the video must have uploaded. Bree! Raquel almost inhales my name. We did it. I can barely believe my own words. Even if we die now, other people will know what to do. I relax against the tree, feeling my hair catch on the bark. We did it. Heck yes, Kinsey cheers, and in your stupid faces. Her eyes shine in the fire's light, blazing with victory. If I couldn't feel her secretly shaking next to me, I would think she was impossibly fearless. What if they come here? Greer asked. Maybe we should just kill the kids now, McNamara muses, though then we'd run the risk of Wyatt asking to talk to them before he's done. One of the men points a gun at Raquel. Kinsey cranes her neck to see what's happening, her shaking worsening, but her attitude not betraying it. Don't you dare, Kinsey warns, her glare intensifying. Let's give your rangers a few minutes, Greer says. They may be able to turn those people around, and even if they can't, they won't stop us here. They'll go to the first eruption site. Good point, McNamara says. She waves a hand and the man lowers his gun. Then she dials her phone and gives some orders, sounding for all the world like the sweet lady we met at the beginning of the summer. We sit in silence for ages. Anticipation is as thick in the air as the ash at this point. I watch the eruption in the distance. From the other side of the tree, Nolan whistles for his ferrets whenever he thinks the men aren't paying attention. It hurts worse each time because they never come. I wonder where they've run off to. If they found someplace safe to hide, I could only hope so. Dr. Greer, a voice shouts, ripping me away from my thoughts. Out of the corner of my eye and just over Kinsey's head, I see two men running toward us from out of the haze. It's Stiles and Fee. What is it? Dr. Greer asked. Where are the other kids? I thought you had them. But whatever Fee and Stiles try to say in response gets cut off, because then the ground shakes again. Several rumbles move through the earth underneath us, rattling against the tree trunk we're tied to. A nearby tree, completely engulfed in flames, collapses into the construction fencing. The fence crunches in on itself, toppling, and the cabin catches on fire. Wyatt! Kinsey shrieks. The large wooden cabin ignites within seconds. The hot ash that's been falling all day must have already primed it. Two men run out of the building, patting down their clothes where sparks had leapt. Wyatt! Kinsey shouts again. He's way down the tunnel by now, so the fire isn't the danger, but these quakes sure are. I notice our bonds loosen slightly in all the recent shaking. I tug at them, trying to see if I can get them off while watching Greer, McNamara, and their men to make sure they don't notice. But the adults are all yelling and pointing and not paying us any attention. The shaking of the ground slows to a stop, and I strain my neck in the other direction to see what all the commotion is about. There, in the distance, a mismatched herd of vehicles speeds our way across the ash-covered landscape. There are semi-trucks with beds full of concrete barriers, water tankers of every size imaginable, fire trucks, bulldozers bringing up the rear, slow and steady. Help has arrived. Yes, Nolan exclaims in triumph. What? Kinsey asked, tied to the only side of the tree not facing the arriving vehicles. What is it? Raquel, on the other side of me, is rapidly whispering to herself too quietly for me to understand. Her shoulders have relaxed and her head tilts forward. A tear stings a scrape on my cheek. Don't react, McNamara shouts. No one react. Don't let them know what we're doing here, and they'll pass by on their way to the eruption. Fat chance, Kinsey yells. You've got 4 kids tied up in plain sight. They'll see right away that you're up to something, I add. Thunder rumbles in the distance. Lightning sparks through the clouds over the eruption, briefly lighting up the smoke-filled sky. And if they don't, I'll scream until they see us, Kinsey says, and I'll tell them exactly what you're doing. Now should we shoot them? One of the men asked Greer. Greer is staring out at the arriving vehicles, blinking in disbelief. So McNamara answers for her. We'll have to take that risk, she says. Yes, make it fast, so we have time to hide the bodies. Before I can react, the man is already pointing his gun at me. Nolan yells behind me, and I squeeze my eyes shut. Watch out! A voice shouts. Geyser! My eyes fly back open as Kinsey screams. A massive blast of water slams into the man aiming the gun at me. The other men yell and run away, and I stare at the jets of water, trying to figure out how a geyser could blow sideways. But then Kinsey's scream abruptly stops, and instead she bursts out laughing. When I notice what she's laughing at, I want to applaud. It's not a geyser at all. It's Todd and Eddie. And they've somehow got the slurry hose from one of Greer and McNamara's trucks. Yeah, get away from them, Todd yells. The man with the gun tries to get back up on his feet, caked solidly now in wet ash and mud. Eddie runs forward and kicks his gun far out of reach. Eddie! Raquel exclaims. Eddie and Todd together heave the slurry hose at the other men, blasting them with water next. Take that, Eddie shouts. I'm full on laughing now. I can't believe it. How did they get water? Where have you guys been? Nolan calls. Kinsey lets out a whoop. We stole a truck, Todd says proudly. The one with the pump, Eddie adds, and drove it to Yellowstone Lake and hooked it up, and now we have water. They turn with the hose and aim it at the wooden cabin, which is nearly burnt to a crisp. They douse the building, and the fire calms within moments. I let out a relieved breath, knowing Wyatt won't be greeted by a raging inferno when he gets out of his tunnel.